Hi guys, I hope that you're all doing well. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Marielle. I'm a corporate working mom to a 2-year-old with a master's degree in psychology. Here I talk about all things motherhood, parenting, relationships, work-life balance, and being your best self. So stick around if you want to see more of that. So today I want to talk about all things second trimester, and I can't believe I'm saying this now already. I feel like I just filmed my first trimester video not that long ago, and now I'm already filming the second trimester one. I feel like this pregnancy is just flying by so fast, much faster than I anticipated, or much faster even than my first one. But yeah, I just entered my third trimester now. So I feel like it's a perfect moment to reflect and think about all of my thoughts and feelings and all the notes that I have gathered over the past weeks for my second trimester. And like I mentioned, I made a video like this for my first trimester, so if you're interested in that one, I'm going to link that also here. And I'm planning to make another one for my third trimester, and also hopefully for my fourth trimester or my postpartum period. I'm going to also make another video. So comparing this pregnancy to my first one, it feels very similar. I've had a good first pregnancy, and I have to say that this second pregnancy also feels very much the same. There's just a few little differences here and there, which makes sense and is to be expected because not every pregnancy is the same and every baby is different as well. So it's pretty much what I was thinking. Generally, my second trimester has been really good. And that's also what I expected based on what I've experienced from the first pregnancy and also from what everyone has been saying. I just find it just the easiest. I feel like for my second trimester, I feel like I look properly pregnant and not just bloated. I've announced it to pretty much everyone who needs to know, so it doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I slip or anything. Unlike in the first trimester, in the very beginning stages, you don't want people to know just yet. So there's not really any need to hide it, which is really nice. I also don't feel so huge and uncomfortable just yet. So I could still do a lot of things that I've been doing before. Another big one is that I could still sleep like usual, like my typical sleep since before I got pregnant, which is so nice because then I can just, comfortably sleep, which is very necessary when you're pregnant, but can be very challenging in the third trimester as you get bigger and it gets more uncomfortable, and you're also in the third trimester going to have to, as much as possible, lie down on your side, specifically on the left side, as much as you can because of circulation and all that. It's just safer for you and for the baby. So I haven't had to do that just yet, but now that I'm entering my third trimester, I'm more aware of that, and I'm trying to really practice that more at night so that I can slowly get used to just lying down on my side as much as possible on my left side at night, which is very challenging, I have to admit. I am a side sleeper, but I do tend to need to move positions here and there during the night. So I find it quite difficult to just stay in one position, although, if you go on your right, it's not like the end of the world, but it's still much preferred to be on your left. And I still, right now, sometimes wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning that I'm on my back, which is not great. But, if the same thing happens to you, it's fine. You don't have to panic. You just need to go back on your left side as much as possible, or your right even, if you find yourself on your back. But that being said, I do want to go through all of the symptoms that I've experienced over the past weeks and talk about the tips that I have for this particular trimester based on my first pregnancy and also the trimester that just passed for me. So let's get into it, starting with week 14. I have to admit that my notes in the beginning of the second trimester have been a little bit spotty, because I was just feeling pretty good and I didn't really take note of that many things. I feel like I have much more notes for the first trimester because there were more things going on, but the second trimester I didn't have that many things because a lot of things were feeling pretty normal most of the time. So there are going to be some weeks that I didn't have any notes, so just putting it out there. So for week 14, I actually puked for the first time. First time ever, because I actually never puked in my first pregnancy. I also experienced some nausea on the 14th week, which is very unlike me. And I also experienced it a little bit in the first trimester, but it's really not that much, and definitely not much to puke at all. So it was my first time ever having to have to puke, and it was horrible because it was pretty much the whole day from morning until 7 p.m. and I was just really feeling out of it and really just feeling drained that whole day. Luckily, it was just one day and it hasn't happened anymore, and that was literally just one day for the whole second trimester and hopefully for the whole pregnancy that I had to puke. So I also experienced a lot of headache that day and also some gas. So yeah, it was just that particular day. I don't know what was going on then, but it was quite an outlier because the rest of the other days for the next weeks I didn't experience anything like that anymore. So, and then skipping into week 20, as I mentioned, I didn't have that many notes in the beginning of the second trimester because there was not really much that happened, and there were some things that still were the same from the few weeks before that, so I didn't really find it noticeably different, so I didn't write those down. But at around 20 weeks, I had a nosebleed, which is also first in this pregnancy, I believe. And I normally am not the person who gets nosebleeds. I remember when I was a kid, I was low-key jealous of my classmates who had nosebleeds. I don't know, I just remember why that I felt that. I don't know why, what I was thinking, but I was low-key jealous of them because I thought it was like pretty interesting to have a nosebleed. I don't know, like it's just so ridiculous and so funny right now thinking about it, but that's how I felt. But now I've had it, and I've had it in around week 20, and I also noticed that I was out of breath more easily, which I still am. That kind of started then and just stayed. My belly was obviously big then by week 20, but not like humongous, which is nice. I also thought that was like such a nice cute little bump that I had then on week 20, and I started to get itchier belly, so I feel like my skin around my belly area has been feeling a little bit more dry than usual, so I really upped my game and started religiously with the belly oil, because before that I was doing it like here and there and I was really not consistent at all. So I wanted to prevent the itchy belly and the discomfort, and maybe prevent some more stretch marks from coming in, because I did have stretch marks from my first pregnancy, but I also wasn't very religious with applying, moisturizing my belly during that pregnancy, but now I'm much better at it, and so far I haven't had new stretch marks yet. So the stretch marks that I do have were from my first pregnancy still, but most of them have already lightened from before, but now I haven't had anything new. Fingers crossed that it'll stay that way and I won't have any new ones anymore, although I'm not expecting it because, as your pregnancy progresses, obviously your belly grows even bigger and your skin needs to stretch even more, so it's still likely that I will get more stretch marks again, but it's my tiger stripe, so it's fine. I also noticed on this week and the weeks afterwards, I also developed some stuffy nose, so I thought at first it was just the weather, but honestly it could be the weather as well, but I know that stuffy nose is also a common pregnancy symptom, so it could be one or the other. And then on the 23rd week, I noticed that I had more pronounced varicose veins, and I had this also in my first pregnancy before, towards the end of my pregnancy. That's because, the belly's getting bigger and everything's getting heavier and things like that, so I don't have the best circulation, I have to say, so I think it's also why. I've been having tired legs from time to time. It's definitely not a daily thing or like even a weekly thing, but I felt it on that week, and it comes here and there, comes and goes. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. So I also wrote down that I've been feeling baby move at all times of the day. I think I felt her move very, very early on. Week 15 or even earlier, I already felt her actually. Like very small, like faint feeling. And I know what it feels like because I've had my first pregnancy, and they say that you can feel it earlier on in your subsequent pregnancies because you've already been pregnant before and you know how it feels and what to watch out for and how it kind of feels compared to the first pregnancy. So I know that I felt her much earlier on, but on week 23 is when I felt like it was really very active that she was very active. So that kind of carried on to week 24, where I wrote here that I woke up one day to a party in my belly at 4 a.m. and it was really difficult for me to sleep because I tried changing positions left, right, on my back, all different kinds of positions, but nothing helped because she was just having a party in there. She was just really having fun, it seemed. I don't know what's going on there, but she was just very, very active at the time, particularly, and I couldn't sleep. Like when I was about to fall asleep, then I just felt her kick again, and then I'm up again. And at some point, it's difficult to get back to sleep because you try to like fall asleep and then you like get up again, and then fall asleep and then wake up again. So it was just, after a few times, it was difficult for me to get back to sleep, and I think it took me like 2 hours to finally get back to sleep again, eventually. So that was fun. I have to say that that hasn't happened anymore that badly since in the second trimester. So we'll see for the third trimester, but hopefully she lets me sleep a little bit better in the third trimester because I will need it for when she comes. 25 weeks was when I started to notice some skin discoloration. So we all have melanin, and during pregnancy it becomes more pronounced, and so I noticed that I have darker patches in my underarms. Remember having the same thing with my first pregnancy as well, where everything was just like was just darker, and if I stayed out in the sun too long then I got like darker faster, and I'm very on top of my sunscreen game. So especially now, I know that it's a pregnancy thing and you're more susceptible to that. I really make sure that I have sunscreen every day, and now that the summer time is coming in, I'm definitely gonna have to reapply sunscreen throughout the day just to make sure that I don't get any unwanted discoloration on my face, because yeah, that's not what you want. On week 25 is also when I experienced constipation for the first time, maybe TMI, but it lasted for just a day, luckily, because it was really like half a day, but it was really, really bad. I had so much stomach ache that I just had to lie down for a while. I ate very light food when I was having the pains, and I ate cucumbers and prunes to help like get everything moving again, but it was pretty bad. I did remember eating noodles, like ramen noodles, instant noodles, just before that, and I think that might have contributed to that. So I'm really sad because I love ramen, especially, you know, when it's cold and like it's been rainy these days, so I feel like it's such a nice time to eat it, something warm and like hearty. But if that's the consequence of eating that, then I'd rather just avoid it for now. Probably will try to avoid it as much as possible until I give birth. But yeah, it was just really bad, and I just would rather not risk it in case that was the culprit. And lastly, on week 26 is when I noticed that some positions in yoga and exercise are uncomfortable now. So for example, when I'm doing yoga and then I go in the downward dog position, I feel like a lot of blood going on my face. I don't think I've experienced that in my first pregnancy. I don't know why it's different, but yeah. I feel like all the blood suddenly rushing through my head and like on my face, and it's just really uncomfortable. I know that we have more blood during pregnancy, but yeah, it's just really uncomfortable, so I can't stay in that position super long anymore. But I don't think that I had the same problem in my first pregnancy. So some positions are not comfortable right now, depending on how I stretch my body. And I also noticed that I've had cramps as well from on the 26th week, from the 26th week. And it's nothing major, like I had like a toe cramp one time and then like a leg cramp another time, so it's not like an everyday thing, or it's not really that regular that I get these cramps, but I did notice that I've been having them now, towards the end of the second trimester until like recently. I've never had this before that. So overall, second trimester has been really good. I feel like I can't complain for my symptoms because they're very normal and really happens like a day or so when they do happen to be a little bit worse, so it's really not a big deal. It's just part of pregnancy. And I do notice that I'm still tired and I still need to nap on some days compared to my first pregnancy, because on my first pregnancy I believe that in my second trimester I didn't have to nap at all. So in relation to health is to also try to make sure that you're being aware of your diet and what you're putting in your body. I practice the 80-20 rule, so I make sure that I'm eating healthy 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time, you know, I can give in to some cravings, to some sweets and things like that. It's not like perfectly healthy because I don't think it's sustainable, and I think that you're just going to be miserable if you're forcing yourself to be healthy, if you know you're just really craving something sweet or something salty or something like that. I think it's important to still keep the balance and just eating well-balanced meals, you know. I feel like we do need to watch out what we eat because it really directly affects our baby that we're carrying, and it can really affect them long-term, like in their future. So it's really, really important for me to watch out what I'm eating. I actually watch out what I'm eating more now than before I had a baby, than before I was pregnant, because I know that it's directly affecting her. And also make sure that you're getting enough fiber, because that constipation was no joke. That was really not nice. And apparently constipation is quite common in pregnancy. And I already eat oatmeal like almost every day. So if I could have it, a lot of people I'm sure experience this and are suffering from it. So make sure that you're getting enough fiber. Eat your fruits and veggies. Eat your prunes, your cucumbers, your oats, just get enough fiber. Another thing is a tip for the sugar test, because I actually had my sugar test as well a few weeks ago, and I had a really good experience this time around compared to my first time around. And one of the biggest differences is that I actually drank a glass of water beforehand. It was recommended that you come in sober, so I came in there, I think my appointment was at 8:30, and they told me that I needed to be sober, so you shouldn't be eating anything since the night before, so I didn't. But I did drink some water before leaving, because for me it's important, because that's the first thing that I always drink every morning. I just always chug like a glass of water in the morning. And this is what I didn't do in my first pregnancy, because in my first pregnancy I went in there with nothing, no solids but also no water, and I was miserable. I was really, really hungry, and I think also thirsty, and I felt like a little bit faint at the time, and just really starving. And this time around it was so good because I didn't feel like I was hungry really. Like I felt like I was fine. It's not like I was full, but I wasn't miserable. I was just normal. And I really think it's because I drank that water beforehand. And the last tip is to start on baby prep already in your second trimester. I know that a lot of moms only start their baby prep in their third trimester because you feel like, oh shoot, like it's coming up now, it's getting serious. But I've started my baby prep on the second trimester already, just because I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself in my third trimester when you're already big, when you're already uncomfortable, to get everything done. And you never know what's going to happen because there's things that come up here and there out of the blue, and there's always some unforeseen things that might need your attention. And so I think it's important to be prepared beforehand. To be over prepared more than under prepared is always better.